Well, every week on the show, I always tell people to drop me a follow on Twitter. Well, for those that actually do follow, they're starting to realize that there's many golf writers and broadcasters out there who follow all the top stories in golf. Well, I'm getting back to that point where I'm actually helping to create the golf news stories and not just following them. On Friday, I watched some video of Rory McIlroy's post-round media scrum at the Memorial, and I cut up a video and posted it, and I tweeted along with the video, quote, this is my tweet, the more Rory McIlroy speaks lately, the more he validates everything Phil Mickelson said about playing less golf and having an off-season, etc., and how it will improve the play of the world's best. Can someone let Rory's agent know there's an open spot on Smash GC, which is the team captained by Brooks Koepka on Live Golf? It was reported this week that Matt Wolff is leaving Brooks Koepka's Smash GC team and seeking a trade, but I'll get to that later. I just wanted to sort of use that as a point, but here is the audio from the video of Rory I posted and with that quote there.
Rory, you won in Dubai, you're right there at Bay Hill. Had these things been creeping in at that point, or?
Yeah, I think these things were creeping in at the end of 2022, probably. And again, that's why it would, we've all been advocating for an off season, and and there's certain reasons why guys want. It's very hard to try to play your best golf when you're really thinking about your golf swing. So it's that off season time would be nice to work on your mechanics and your fundamentals, so that you've got those sort of bedded in, so that you can sort of roll going into the bulk of the season. And I didn't really feel like I had the necessary time to do that over the, you want to take a little bit of time off over the holidays, get yourself back into it. So it's just my reluctancy to work on it. Like, I know it's been creeping in, but my reluctancy to work on it was more to do with the fact of how much golf we had coming up, and just not really wanting to be thinking about my golf swing a ton.
Well, the video was up for several hours and getting some decent response, and then a few hours later, someone decided to tag Phil Mickelson in the comments section. I didn't tag Phil, I just mentioned his name in it. Then all of a sudden, boom, Phil Mickelson responds to my tweet. Now, Phil is known for dropping bombs on the golf course. That's one of his famous sayings. I like to drop bombs, but he certainly dropped a bomb in my Twitter comments. So Mickelson responds to my comment about Rory and how he should consider joining Live to play for Smash GC, and this is what Mickelson says, quote, as worn out as McIlroy was after the Masters and his need for an offseason, Live would be the perfect fit for him. Problem is, I don't think there's a team that wants him on it because they'd have to deal with all his BS, unquote. I was like, holy cow. I knew instantly this was going to be huge. Like, Phil Mickelson showing up on my Twitter timeline to take a shot at Rory McIlroy and saying nobody wants to deal with all this BS. It was incredible. Never in my life have I had this many responses to something on Twitter. Even during the week, I posted the video of John Rahm talking about Sergio, and it got close to 1 million views on just my Twitter. It was at 920,000. And then one of the other big golf accounts took my video with, it says, Live Golf on Sauga 960 in the video, everything. That's well over 1 million views. So 2 million views. And that was before this. I got a huge response on that. The Rahm comments about Sergio being excluded from the Ryder Cup. But this, just the response, and actually the Rahm thing got more views, but the amount of comments and responses was like unbelievable. Like, I'm waking up in the morning and my Twitter timeline, there's just so many mentions. Thankfully, no one, like a friend of mine, actually tweeted at me. My long-lost love could have tweeted at me, and I wouldn't see it because it's buried in literally thousands upon thousands of responses to Phil Mickelson. But everything Rory's talking about in that clip is everything that Mickelson's been saying for the past year of why Live Golf is good for some players. It may not be great for everyone, but there's zero doubt that Live Golf is working for Phil Mickelson and, of course, Brooks Koepka. Both Brooks and Phil finished tied for second at the Masters. And then, of course, Koepka won the PGA Championship a couple weeks ago. Phil made the cut on that ridiculously challenging Oak Hill in driving rain. So this Live schedule and setup is obviously working. These guys are showing up to the majors looking really good. What do we have? 3 of the top 5 Live guys in the Masters. There was a bunch of guys at the top of the leaderboard in the PGA as well. And so the Live schedule is working for some players. And politics aside, I think the Live schedule probably does suit a guy like Rory better than playing week after week in all these meaningless PGA Tour events. And he's coming to Canada this week before the U.S. Open, because he's won twice in a row. He's trying to go for a three-peat, but he'd probably be better served to skip it, but I guess he can't. RBC's probably paying him a huge chunk to show up, and he's coming to get that money. So who knows? Maybe one day we will see Rory on Live. The chance of it happening is definitely better today than it was 6 months ago. It's still a while away, but I think at some point we may see it. It's not going to happen the next week or two, but I wouldn't be shocked if we saw Rory join Live within the next year or two. Just imagine the beans McIlroy could spill on Jay Monahan and the PGA Tour if he did leave. It'd be amazing, like getting all the inside scoop and all the drama and how they plan to attack Liv and all that, and they used Rory as the mouthpiece for all that. But yeah, unbelievable. Not going to happen soon, but don't be shocked if it happens one day. But this clip and Mickelson response to my tweet was covered all over the globe. So it was covered by Sports Illustrated, Golf.com, Golf Weekly, USA Today, Bleacher Report, The Big Lead, the Daily Mirror in the UK, the main Belfast, Ireland paper. Obviously, Rory's from Ireland. I think it's the Belfast Telegraph. Forget what it was. Yahoo Sports, the Daily Mirror in London, England covered it. The Comeback, and literally 20, 30 other major sports sites all across the globe covering me and mentioning me and Phil Mickelson's response to my videos. Unbelievable. So every week I sift through hours of footage of press conferences from players on the PG Tour, Live Golf, DP Tour, LPGA, hoping to find some nugget of good information I can use as a soundbite on my radio show This Week in Golf. And so lately I just decided, okay, I'm going to post these clips on my Twitter and YouTube, and the response has been insane. Like, I just used to pull them and use them as audio on my show here for the past year. I've had the show for just over 1 year right now. Got it started This Week in Golf in May of 2022, and here we are in June 2023, and I'm still going. So I just thought, you know what? You're pulling these clips. There's not too many people listen to as many press conferences as you. Just post them on your Twitter. See the response. Well, the response, my Twitter has close to 3 million impressions this month alone. And then my YouTube's got about 140,000 views, which is really good. Now, keep in mind, I ran the social media for 3 years for another major golf brand, and these numbers are outstanding. I just decided literally about 6 weeks ago, I'm going to post more golf content, and now I'm helping to create the golf news in the world with Mickelson responding to me. He's like, this is not, Phil's been liking my tweets, my pro live content, but he hasn't actually responded, but now we finally got him to respond, and unbelievable. Now, one thing I've learned from the response to this Phil Mickelson tweet is that he takes an insane amount of abuse on social media. Like, many of the comments that I had to sift through, they step way past the line of decency or even good-natured trash talking. And it's filled with this hate and rage and anger. It's just amazing how many people have lost sight of the fact that this is just golf we're talking about here. It must be exhausting at times for Mickelson having to sift through that nonsense in his timeline to find normal tweets or comments to engage with. Like, it was just really vile stuff. Some of the things people were saying was just unbelievable. Like, what's wrong with you, man? This guy's, whatever, politics aside, the guy plays golf, Rory plays golf. We're talking about golf here. We're not really talking about war and, atrocities. This is golf, and it's amazing how many people have lost track of that. But yeah, me, Chris McKee, the guy many Canadian so-called golf journalists will say, oh, he's not a golf guy. I hate to break the news to many of you. My social media numbers and my stats tell me I'm more of a golf guy than you ever wish you were. Notice I used to have a whole bunch of Canadian golf journalists on my show last year. They've all stopped doing it. They're all like, oh, he's not a golf guy. I don't want to do his show anymore. That's why the American guys love me. Hey, got Jack Hirsch on the show tonight and stuff. He's been on a couple times, and got a bunch of American guys. Last week we had Jeff Bullock from the Universal Golf Rankings. I got plenty more golf guests all lined up. They're all from the United States for the most part, because the Canadian golf journalists are like, oh, that guy's not a golf guy. Hate to break it to you, I'm destroying most of you on social media stats and numbers, and I don't see Phil Mickelson responding to your content, and I don't see your content making news headlines literally across the globe. Newspapers in Ireland, England, everywhere across the USA. Pretty sure more places. I haven't even looked. I just looked at a couple. It's probably 40, 50 articles all in the same thing. But there you have it. Little old Chris McKee and his radio show This Week in Golf on little old News Talk Sauga 960, making international headlines alongside Phil Mickelson and Rory McIlroy. Once we got the live rights for the radio here on Sauga 960, which, of course, we'll be back in a couple weeks when Liv heads to Spain and London in July, and I'll be on hosting the final round coverage. But once we got the Liv radio rights, I made a conscious decision to start posting more golf content on my Twitter and YouTube, and it has literally exploded just so quickly. It's unbelievable to see, and I've become a must-for-golf destination and content. So yes, drop me a follow on Twitter at Mr. McKee and subscribe to This Week in Golf on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartradio, wherever it is you prefer to listen to your podcasts. I'm Chris McKee, and you're listening to This Week in Golf on Newstalk Sauga 960.